Hey guys, dude, I'm Rain here with some more Semper Sundays. For this one, we're going to be talking about the Battle of Guadalcanal, which happened on the island of Guadalcanal in 1942. This was the first major offensive that we really launched against them, against the Japanese, and it was only 8 months after Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was December of 1941, and this assault took off in August 7th of 1942. It was a lot faster than the Japanese had anticipated. Their troops were ready in the sense that they had dug in. They felt pretty confident in their ability to hold the island. But it was a lot quicker than they had figured on us being able to really launch something of this scale. The whole Guadalcanal campaign was codenamed Operation Watchtower. It was a pretty large campaign. It actually took place in the islands of Guadalcanal, Tulagi, and Florida in the southern Solomon Islands. But the majority of the fighting, what you'll hear about generally is on Guadalcanal itself. It's kind of where where things really hit the fan. It was an intense battle by all accounts. There's no denying that. The Marines hit the island, and they eventually took Henderson Field, which is the airfield on the island, and that was huge because if you can get your planes in there, then it gives them much more range from other land bases that were further to the south, down in Australia and stuff. And after the Marine Corps took took Henderson Field, the Japanese tried over and over and over again to hit the field and to take the field back, but they just couldn't do it. And it came down to some intense hand-to-hand fighting. There was a battle. It's called the Battle of Edson's Ridge on Guadalcanal, and this happened about a month after the Marines landed. And this was the plan for this attack was to wipe out all of the Americans on Henderson Airfield. And how many days did it take place on? Looking here, it was less than a week that the Japanese were hitting these guys, and they were just getting hit constantly, day and night. Suicide attacks, what they call them, kamikaze attacks, basically, where they just run forward and die, essentially. The Japanese style at that time was very, very strict. So, for instance, if your orders are to rush forward and assault, just say this trench which is surrounding the airfield, right? If those are your orders, those are your orders. There's no deviating from them, no matter how stupid those orders are. No matter how many guys have gone before you and died horribly, you're going to do that. There's no way around it. And so the Japanese just launched assault after assault after assault on these Marines and eventually some Army around Henderson Airfield, and it was just ridiculous. If you've seen, what is it? The Pacific, I believe, which kind of showcases the 1st Marine Division fighting in just the Pacific, kind of the battles that those guys went through. It shows this, and it shows one of the Marines that receives a Medal of Honor. Which one was it? Let's see if I can find here. To Google we go. I'm blanking. I know I should remember this. John Basilone, and he's portrayed in the film, or in the little series that they have. This guy was a badass. He ended up dying later on in another battle. on Iwo Jima. But he, little fun fact about John Basilone is he's the only enlisted Marine in World War II to receive both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. So he received the two highest awards you could possibly get in the Marine Corps. The dude was a stud. He was a gunnery sergeant. There's very few guys that you would want around you. There's very few guys like him that you'll ever have around you, I guess. Let's see if it says his citation. President of the United States, in the name of Congress, takes pride in presenting the Medal of Honor to, I think he's at the time as a Sergeant John Basilone of the United States Marine Corps, for service as set forth in the following citation: for extraordinary heroism and conspicuous gallantry in action against Japanese forces, above and beyond a call of duty while serving with 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. So he was, if he'd be alive now, he would be stationed 29 Palms. That's where 17's at. 1st Marine Division in the Lunga area of Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, on the 24th and 25th of October of 1942. While the enemy was hammering at the Marines' defensive position, Sergeant Basilone, in charge of 2 sections of heavy machine guns, fought valiantly to check the savage and determined assault. In a fierce frontal attack, with the Japanese blasting his guns with grenades and mortar fire, one of his sections with his gun crews put out of action, leaving only 2 men able to carry on. Moving an extra gun into position, he placed into action, then under continual fire repaired another, and personally manned it, gallantly holding his line until replacements arrived. A little later, with ammunition critically low and supply lines cut off, Sergeant Basilone, at great risk of his life and in the face of continued enemy attack, battled his way through hostile lines with urgently needed shells for his gunners, thereby contributing in large measure to the virtual annihilation of a Japanese regiment. His personal valor and courageous initiative were in keeping with the highest standards of the United States Naval Service. That kind of goes to show. Let me pull up something else here. Pull up something else. Pull this bad boy up here. Yeah, so sorry, it took a little while. As he was manning this machine gun, his gloves, the asbestos gloves that they wore, that were used to protect you from burns, because the weapons get insanely hot, had basically worn through, and they were basically useless. And so he had 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over his left hand and forearm, because that's where he was resting the machine gun. And even with those burns and the amount of pain that he had to have been going through, he kept firing it, kept using it to take down the enemy, which is just pure badass. So if you've ever been burned by a shell or by a hot weapon, you know that shit's no fun. And to literally just have that thing sitting there on your arm, burning through your skin, is fucking intense. But when shit's going down and the Marines rely on you, that's what you do. After that battle, he was sent to go get war bonds, which you can see in the Pacific. They kind of have him back in the States going around, hey, give us money so we can kill Japanese, blah blah blah. And then he eventually gets sent back to he was still active duty, but he gets sent back to combat, where he dies in the first day of Iwo Jima there, which sucks, but it is what it is. Yeah, so absolute badass. The Battle of Guadalcanal the victory there was huge, because it allowed, it proved the Japanese could be beaten, because people at the time were kind of concerned just at how powerful Japan was. They had a very strong navy. They had some major air power. Their troops were tough dudes, and this proved that they could be beaten, and that we could do it, even though they had taken out a shit ton of our navy when they hit Pearl Harbor. And having that airfield on Henderson Field helped really set up set up our ability to progress further in the Pacific. And so it was a huge victory for us, just morale-wise as well as strategically. So yeah, hopefully it's a little bit of knowledge for you, some motivation. I'm gonna try to be doing more of these. I want to get it going every Sunday if I can. It's just tough with my current schedule, but I'll do what I can. And hope you guys like these. If you do, make sure you leave it a like so that I know that you like it. And if you do, I will continue to bring this out to you. Alright guys, as always, I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, concerns, anything like that, hit me up. And I'll see you in the next one. Semper Fi.